our team principals press conference ahead of the FIA Formula One Miami Grand Prix. And joining us for this session, we have Christian Horner closest to me, then Oliver Oakes and Toto Wolff. Toto, why don't we start with you? And can we pick up on something George Russell said yesterday in the press conference, that 3 podiums from 5 is more than the team was expecting? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, probably, because when they had a little bit of swings of performance, and then maybe one or the other race, the Ferraris came back at us, and he was great in defending. So it is pretty close, but still, it's not really satisfying, because you have McLaren out there that are able to manage the tires so well, and then it's the 3 teams that are, fighting with each other. One race you get it right, the other one not, and certainly trying to figure out what it is and playing catch up.
How much potential does the W16 have? Can you join this championship fight?
The car is much easier to set up. At least, you put more flap in and the car does what you expect it to do, which in previous years wasn't the case. It's more predictable, but the underlying issue obviously is keeping the tire temperatures in the window, and that's something we haven't found a way around of doing it really well.
Have you seen enough from this car to develop it quite deep into the season, or are you switching to 26 already?
I think every team will have their little, secrets, and it's also a bit of a moving target. All of us have transitioned certain groups within the aero department, or big, larger groups in the design office that are only looking at next year's car, obviously. And performance slope is very steep. You're adding lots of downforce in, because it's the early days, and that's going to flatten. But if a team has started doing it 1.5 months earlier in terms of transitioning resource, that can be a big advantage next year.
Toto, the most successful driver in the history of Formula One left you last winter. Can we talk about the team dynamic that you have now, and how George and Kimi are filling the void of Lewis Hamilton?
First of all, I want to avoid some headlines. We are still great friends with Lewis. I mean, I spent a lot of time with him traveling and still seeing him, and it came to a point, I guess, last year where, it's like you're spending 12 years in a row on holiday with your best friend. At a certain stage, you say, well, I'll maybe do something else this time around. And for Lewis, he needed a refresh, a reinvention. Ferrari is iconic, no doubt about that. Certainly, he also got the terms that were interesting for him. And with us, Kimi was in the starting blocks, and eventually, it was this year, or it would have been next year, to bring him in. And bringing him in this year means we have a learning year before new regulations kick in. He's going to know all the tracks, which, for example, this one he's never been. And that felt like the right decision.
Is the atmosphere very different inside the garage this year?
No, I wouldn't say so, because Lewis was part of the family, and obviously as a racing driver, he knew exactly what he wanted. But the engineers, the mechanics knew him, he knew them. We got along. You have good days, you have bad days, you have strengths and weaknesses. But if you know someone that well, it's easy to manage that. And now the dynamic is different. You have George has massively stepped up as a senior driver in the team. Kimi is almost like the young brother that's come in. They work together well, which is very pleasing to see. Kimi doesn't stress too much. He's just building up constantly, and on George you can rely when it comes to lap times and the racing. So spirits are high.
A final one from me. You say George has massively stepped up. In what areas?
I think it becomes so obvious when a 7-time world champion leaves the team with which he was 12 years. George, who's been always, like everyone, a little bit in the shadow of Lewis Hamilton, is now the one that gives the direction, is the one that you can rely on when it's, George, where the pace of the car is. And that is that is important, and this is what we do.
If he continues that trajectory, will you re-sign him?
I knew the question is going to come. George is part of the Mercedes family and has always been. And as I see things today, why break a team that is on a trajectory that I see as positive?
Okay, Toto, thank you for that. Ollie, let's come to you now. A slightly frustrating start for the team with just that 1 points finish to show for it. How much potential do you think this car has?
Yeah, I mean, look, frustrating is the right word. I think Australia, we felt a little bit shortchanged, and it was nice in Bahrain to show where we really think we can be. We've definitely got some performance in the car. I think, obviously, as Toto said, it does swing track to track, and obviously I think what's a bit annoying is you've got to take those opportunities when they come, and I think this year we haven't quite managed to have that come together, but I think we are looking, in a positive mindset for sure.
Why hasn't it come together?
Oh, if it was easy. No, I think, look, a couple of those races there, I think Australia with a bit of rain, a bit of the safety car, I think China was a bit of a tricky weekend for us. I think it didn't suit us particularly well. But I think it's just a very tight midfield at the moment. I think it's clear to see that everybody is very close, and that's going to be the way it's going to be for the rest of the year. And I think we've definitely got some performance in the car, and we've just got to execute good weekends.
Ollie, one of your mission statements when you joined Alpine midway through last year was to bring the racing spirit back to the team. Do you feel you've done that?
Oh, I think we've made good progress. I think by that word at the time, obviously there was a lot said in the press about the team and some of the turmoil, and I think you can see a very united team. I think we had some big results the end of last year and some good execution at the racetrack, which is obviously what you want to see. But I think it never stops, and I don't think we fulfilled that fully yet. Of course not. We want to be fighting further up the grid week in, week out.
Quick word on the drivers. Toto was talking about how George has stepped up this year. Have you seen something similar from Pierre?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he obviously is the de facto team leader with his experience, but I think he was already, last year driving superbly, and I think beginning of this year he's continued that. I think he would admit, with any new car, you're trying to make him happy as well, and I think some weekends he's a little bit happier with the balance, and some we've still got a bit of work to do, but he's bringing a lot to the team, and it's just good to see him helping us push forward.
Quick word on Jack Doohan. A story came out of Argentina last week.
I knew that was coming.
That Franco Colapinto will be replacing him in Imola. Can we get your reaction to that? Yeah,
I mean, look, I saw it like everyone else. I think it was a sponsor from Argentina off camera, giving his view on sort of Franco when he's going to be in the car. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of people in Argentina who'd like him in the car this Sunday. I think we've been pretty open as a team that, that's just noise out there, and, Jack needs to continue doing a good job. But I think, obviously, it's natural that there's always that speculation there.
Can you confirm that Jack will be in the car at Imola?
Yeah, I mean, as it is today, Jack is our driver along with Pierre. I think we've been pretty clear on that. I mean, we always evaluate it, but today that is the case.
All right, thank you very much for that, Christian. Thank you for waiting. Can we start by talking about Yuki's TPC test at Silverstone? He said the British weather played havoc with it. What did he learn? What did the team learn about him?
Well, it was just an opportunity for Yuki to spend a bit more time with the engineering staff. Obviously his mileage had been very, very limited with Red Bull Racing. So doing a TPC, which is obviously a couple of years old car, gave him the opportunity just to get a bit more familiar with his engineering team and the procedures at Red Bull Racing. So, but the British weather intervened, and there was a bit of rain in the morning, but he managed to get a few laps in, so it was useful.
When you look at the data, where is he lacking compared to Max Verstappen?
It's difficult to pinpoint any one particular area. Like all these things, there's always little bits across a lap. But he's finding his feet. He's brought a decent amount of experience with him. He's giving good feedback, and I have to say he's brought a really positive energy into the team. He's quite a character, and he's certainly rapid. So I think as he finds his confidence, we'll see him move further up the grid.
George Russell stepped up. Pierre Gasly stepped up. We've learned that. Just has Max Verstappen raised the bar yet further this year? Describe the job you think he's doing. I
think with Max, he's been operating at such a high level for such a long time now. Even back to 2021, 2020. He just continues to surprise us, and at the levels that he's able to hit and achieve. And Saudi was unfortunate with the first corner for us, but the most encouraging thing out of that race was that the pace was there, both on the medium tyre and on the hard tyre. We seem to have the pace over the McLaren, which is probably the first time this year that's happened in race conditions.
Where does he surprise you still after a decade?
I think his ability to wring every ounce of performance out of the car. When you're really back to the wall, that last set of tyres in Q3, that's when the pressure, that's when I think in any elite sport, it's the big pressure points where the greats really step up, and that's what we see time and time again with him, just being comfortable in that zone and delivering at an unbelievable level.
Fantastic news for him about his daughter being born, Lily. Do you think that will affect his performance in the car?
I don't think so. I think that he's a pretty measured guy. He's obviously got a stepdaughter, as well, and he's just very measured. He's he enjoys family life, obviously, and I think for him, it's business as usual. He's obviously tremendously proud, and it's a great thing for him and Kelly to welcome a baby girl. That's a different achievement and a different perspective in life. But it's great for him, and great for him and his family.
All right. Christian, thank you for that. Thanks to all three of you. Let's now open this to the floor. Who's going first, please?
Graham Harris, Motorsport Monday, motorsportweek.com. A question for Toto, but I'd love Christian and Ollie to comment as well. Yesterday we spoke to the drivers and spoke to Lewis and obviously your team leader, Mr. Russell, about the Grand Prix Drivers Association not being officially recognized by the FIA or having any direct links to the FIA, and asking whether that would be productive going forward. As they have no standing, do you, as a team principal and being a member of the World Motorsport Council, as each team principal is, see a route to having the GPDA officially recognized so that they can actually contribute meaningfully? What are your views on this?
Over the years that I've been in Formula One, you had at times more vocal GPDA and then at times not. And I think now the drivers, there's a few good voices speaking, for the drivers that are measured, come up with the right inputs, and they are just another stakeholder in the sport, and as such, if not formally, they are very well recognized informally, and listening to their opinions is important. We, at least the teams, are very much attentive to them.
Just in the interest of time, let's do one more. Christian, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, the drivers have an important voice, and personally, I'd be very open to them having a seat at the table. They've always got an important perspective. So yeah, why not?
All right, thanks both. Next, please.
Nicole Mulder, GP Blog. Question to Christian and Toto. What's the best advice you can give Max now as a new parent?
Oh, Ollie has one too.
More experience than me.
Look, I mean, he's going to be a very present father. I'm sure. You've got to get involved. You've got to get involved with the nappies. You've got to, get involved in the middle of the night and so on. It's the most wonderful thing. Welcoming a new addition to any family, and life will be very different. For him in many respects now as a parent. But I'm just thinking of the genes of that child is quite incredible when you think of, Verstappen and Piquet. That's, if it was a racehorse, it'd be worth a fortune. But yeah, it's going to make life a little different for him.
Yeah, obviously we're all different, and for me, a child is born with a DNA, and it's not a lot. I believe in nature, not so much in nurture. But he's been, as far where what I can see, great with his stepdaughter, and I have no doubt he will be a fantastic father.
All right, thanks both. Next.
Molly Hudson for The Times. A question for Christian, but also anyone else who wants to comment. The topic of 26 engines came up again in the recent commission meeting. Are you happy with the resolution of that? Do you feel the lift and coast concerns are gone, or is there still more work that needs to be done?
Look, the regulations are fixed for next year, and that's what everybody's designed and developed their engines to. And I think the biggest concern is one that's not a new concern. It's one that's been flagged from 2 years ago from all of the PUMs. Is the amount of harvesting that there is, and inevitably the chassis designers will outperform the criteria of the regulations, and therefore a consequence of that will be the amount of lift and coast that there will be in a Grand Prix. And of course, what you have to remember with the 26 regs is that the car is effectively constantly in DRS mode. So as soon as you enter the straights, the wings open. So there will, though, be no passing mechanism. So the FIA have raised a topic that was looked at a little while ago by the PUMs, and if it's something that's genuinely in the interest of the sport, in the interest of racing, not to have all this lift and coasting, I think it's something that does warrant looking at and considering, because it doesn't actually change the spec of the engine, it doesn't change the output of the engine. It's just the amount of deployment of the battery, maybe at certain Grand Prix.
Obviously, the closer you come to new regulations, the more, people act all of us, in the interest of the team. That's our duty. I guess where we come from is we don't know how it's going to pan out next year. Are we going to see, energy harvesting disasters in Baku and Monza? I don't know. We hope not. And what we have signaled is that rather than act now based on assumptions, like we have been great at in previous years, and then we've overshot or undershot. As Christian said, there's not a lot of, it's not like you need to throw the hardware away and then come up with something new. It's within the it's within the software, it's within the bandwidth of what you can do, and we will see the final product hitting the road and testing next year. And certainly, us as power unit manufacturer, we want this to be a great show. We want to win, but we are aware that the sport needs to be, in the sport there needs to be variability and unpredictability, and we enjoyed the years from 2014 onwards, but over a prolonged period of time, that's certainly not the best for a sport. So I think I see myself very, very trying to be very balanced between what is good for Mercedes, which as I said, I need to do, but on the other side, what is the right solution going forward? And we need to avoid these swings. The FIA proposed this engine, nobody liked it. The 50% electric back in the day was where road cars were going to. It was a reason to attract manufacturers like Audi and Porsche, so we did that. So it's difficult to change the goalposts, especially for the new ones that Honda recommitted and Audi committed, and including us, they are not keen in changing those goalposts at that stage. But we need to be open-minded if necessary next year.
Thanks both. Okay.
John Noble from The Race. To Toto and Christian, one of the other issues from the F1 Commission was some concerns expressed about the cost of fuel for next year as the relative development have come in. What's your opinion on that situation? Is it something that needs addressing for 27?
It was something that was raised by certainly one of the PUMs. Personally, for us, it's not a significant issue. I mean, inevitably, there's a lot of development costs in these new fuels, in the sustainable fuels that are being introduced for next year, and maybe there's a certain bracket that should be introduced, moving forward. But fuel potentially is one of the bigger performance differentiators, and the fuel companies seem very engaged in that.
Yeah, from my point of view, what makes it so expensive is that the whole supply chain and energy contribution needs to be green. And obviously, in order to achieve all of that, you need a certain specification of ingredients that is very expensive and is coming in much more expensive than everybody thought. So we need to look forward of, is there anything we can tweak in order to take the per liter price down? And also there, we want to be open-minded. And Petronas has been a great partner of ours. They're fully committed technically to the project, and with them we're evaluating, is there a regulation that can be changed to make it more financially sustainable?
Thanks both. Next, where are we going?
Phil Duncan, PA. Question for Toto. Toto, just going back to Lewis. Obviously, his start at Ferrari probably hasn't quite been as he wanted it to be. I think he described it as painful. I mean, have you been surprised at all about how he started, and perhaps he hasn't been on the pace with Charles? And do you still think he's got that magic that he had when he was with you guys, or do you think that might have deserted him? Thanks.
I think we've seen that magic in the sprint race. Was it Shanghai? I mean, he was completely dominating that race. And it's not like you have the magic in one race and then suddenly you lose your magic in the following one. I very much believe that that it is still there. If he aligns all of his performance contributors, if he feels being in the right space, the car to his liking, he will be stellar. I have no doubt about that. But I'm also not surprised that it has those road bumps. He's been with us 12 years, the way of operating. He's being put in a Ferrari where his teammate has been for a long, long time, and his teammate clearly is one of the very good ones. So for me, if I look from the outside and speaking to him, I think it's a trajectory that any new driver needs to go through in a top team.
Thanks for that. Next.
Hi, my question is for Toto, and my name's Ana Cordera from Momentum Racing Spain. So Mercedes has dominated for almost 10 years, and it's still on the top. What do you think has been the most essential ingredient to accomplish that?
Hola. Are we on the top? You're always setting your own expectations, and we are trying to do this without having any sense of entitlement, because we've set the levels for many years, and then Christian and Red Bull came back, and they just dominated in the early years of these regulations, and we were on the back foot, and slowly we are regaining land. We've won 4 races last year. Some of them were dominant. Las Vegas was clearly our race, but we are part of a group that is competitive, that has cars that are able to win and drivers that are able to win. And I think most of all, when you talk about the team or company, what is that actually? That kind of structure, and it's people coming together and people trying to do the best possible job. And I believe that this is something where we score. We have a good environment. We have a pressure environment, but pressure channeled in the right way. I love my tribe, and I try to contribute, to be helpful if I don't understand why I wasn't. And I think everybody has that in the leadership position, that introspection of what is it I can contribute, what is it I can do better in order to outperform our competitors.
Thanks for that. Next, where are we going? Ronald.
Ronald Vording, motorsport.com. It's another one for Christian and Toto, but Ollie can add if he wants to. Yeah, no, it's also on 2026, but then on the minimum weight, a couple of teams have already indicated it will be a incredible challenge to get even close to the minimum weight for next year. Do you feel that the minimum weight is too ambitious, maybe to give fans the perception of lighter cars? And do you feel together with the PU that's probably the main performance differentiator next year?
I'm happy to go first. Naturally, Toto and I are at opposing ends on this. Yeah,
Been for a few years.
Yeah. But I'm loving the new look. I'm loving the new look.
I'm Switzerland. Isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Sorry, well, the question was about the weight. It's ambitious. I mean, a number was plucked out of the air for the car weight. We've got engines that are significantly heavier and a car weight that has become lower. So it will be an enormous challenge, I think, for every team to achieve it. And of course, saving weight naturally costs a colossal amount of money. There was a discussion last week about introducing steel skids onto the cars that maybe that would warrant adding 5 kilos to the minimum weight. But look, it is what it is. It's the same for everybody. There will be choices that teams make in order to hit that weight, because obviously weight is perhaps it's free lap time. Every 10 kilos is about 0.35 of a second. So it will be very, very challenging, I think, for all teams to get down to the minimum weight.
I think, like Christian said, you make choices as a team, and how much lap time do you attribute to weight and to ballast? Where is it you want to save? You may compromise on other performance parts if you want to reduce your weight, or the opposite. And it's challenging. The reason we are doing is to make the cars more nimble. Is that something that was important? I think it was. And we got to start somewhere, I believe. And that initial step is difficult, but it's, like Christian says, the same for everyone.
I don't think I've got much to add on it. I'm in the middle. I'm neutral. I'm happy.
All right, next, Ian.
Thanks, Tom. Ian Parks, Racing News 365. Question for yourself, Christian. You're on a run at the moment of introducing new parts on the car. You did so in Jeddah. You got new parts here. I understand there's going to be a significant upgrade for Imola. But is there any sense that the team's championship hopes and that of Max Verstappen will be relying heavily on the new wing regulations due to be introduced in Spain?
Well, first of all, there is no big update. I don't know where this has come from for Imola. It's, we're at the stage of these regulations where it's all incremental, gains. The change at round 9, it will be a change. How that will affect the different cars with the stiffening of the front wings, who knows how that will play out. I think that obviously we've been unhappy at certain races this year with performance, but we've still been dragging results, out of the car. We're the only team to have won a race at the moment, other than McLaren this year. We've had a couple of poles as well, and we're working very hard to improve the car and improve that situation. So, being only 12 points away at this stage junction of the championship, there's a long way to go, and this championship is an absolute marathon. I don't think you can exclude anybody in the top probably 6. At the moment as a potential contender. Such is the length. And I think if last year teaches us anything, things can change very quickly. And, who knows how that front wing change will play out, whether some will benefit, some will lose. Only time will tell.
Thanks for that. Let's get another one in. Any more? Yeah, there's one at the back.
Tiziano from Diário Rio Claro, Brazil, to Christian and why not to Toto. Now that Max's daughter has born, is there any chance we have a second Monegascan driver in Formula 1 in the next 3 years, and why not a woman?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not a woman? And as I was saying earlier, the pedigree of that little girl is quite phenomenal. So there'll be a rush to sign an option on her, no doubt. But why not?
So I see it from two sides. I have an 8-year-old that's go-karting, and I think Max knows you don't want to put yourself emotionally through that roller coaster. At least that's what he said. But then we need more girls and